Hello, everyone, and we are back for our second segment of the day as we move on to the National Basketball Association playoffs. The NBA, a champion will rise. We have moved on from the first round, a great first round with 5 game 7s. Excitement all around the league there. And we are now in the conference semifinals. We're down to 8 teams who are competing for the Larry O'Brien Trophy. That beautiful trophy. But only one of them will be able to hoist it in June. And let's jump right into the semifinal, to the conference semifinal matchups, and I will open the floor up to the fellas over here. Which matchup do we want to start off with?
You guys want to start off with Washington and Indiana?
Why not? Let's do it. The Washington took game 1 on the road, which I think was their fourth road win of the playoffs. Really
making a statement.
Yeah, and then Indiana answered right back last night, taking game 2, so that they don't go down 2-0 going on the road. A solid matchup here, and I'd like to get your guys' impressions on the first 2 games, and then where we take it from there.
I think if Washington wants to win this series, they need to control the ball at their pace. They can't be turning over the ball when they penetrate. John Wall made a big turnover at the end of that game last night when he went to go drive to the hoop. John Wall needs to be that leader and that offensive playmaker that he's been all season for them. And honestly, I like the Wizards' chances of winning this series. I have them winning it. Indiana has not been playing exceptional ball. They won yesterday because they've been playing how Indiana was playing at the beginning of the season. They have played great defense, and Roy Hibbert wasn't a factor. And for Indiana to win this series and to beat Miami in the Eastern Finals, Roy Hibbert has to be the sole reason why. He is the best player on this team when he plays at that Roy Hibbert tenacity and potential that we know him to play at. He needs to be putting up 28 and 10 a game because he should be putting up 28 and 10 a game. This guy's an all-star. He's one of the best centers in the league when he's aggressive and is calling for the ball in the post. So in order for Indiana to win the game, to win the series, Roy Hibbert has to be putting up numbers like this every night, and they'll win the series easily.
Exactly. Like, what really jumped out to me in this game is Roy Hibbert had 17 points at the half. I mean, as opposed to his scoreless 18 minutes in the first game. I mean, that really jumps out. Roy Hibbert has to be a factor for this team to progress. And if you look at really on Washington's side, I mean, you can definitely tell that they were a young team based on the way that game concluded. They had countless possessions down the stretch where they just didn't get good shots. Like, they were down 3 and just hoisted up shots. I believe, Bradley Beal had to hoist up a shot before the shot clock expired, and then the long rebound ends up in the hands of Wall, who jacks up a 3, which isn't really his range to begin with. There are other ways of getting 3-point plays, and it's not even like, that was the last waning seconds in the game. There was time, and I feel like it was because that they're a young team. So they just have to get better quality shots off, especially down the stretch.
Do you think Roy Hibbert has come back into form and is maybe not going to be the Roy Hibbert of the last year's playoffs, which was an absolute monster, but do you think that he's at least not putting up any more goose eggs?
I have to see more than just one game, honestly, to really confirm if Roy Hibbert is back to where he should be. Honestly, Like I don't know whether I see a performance like this and then another scoreless performance in game 3. Like I don't know.
I don't see it happening either because Indiana played 7 games in the first round. They've already played 2, and Roy Hibbert put had one game like this out of 9 opportunities. So 1 out of 9 is not a solid percentage. So I'm gonna have to go with no, Ian.
So, do you think that Washington's inexperience is going to continue to show up against a playoff-tested team like Indiana?
I don't think so. I mean, I think I like I said before, I think Washington's gonna win this series in 6. Um, I just think Washington, they they need to play the ball in transition, and they're a better scoring team than Indiana. Trevor Ariza, Bradley Beal, and John Wall. The Washington has a true point guard in John Wall. The Pacers don't. Paul George or Lance Stevenson each and every night are playing that point guard role. So Washington just needs to play at their own capacity, and they should win the series. I mean, they have veterans. They have Nene. They have Gortat. They can pull it off. They just need to, like Sean said, they need to take quality shots. They can't be shooting young and inexperienced shots with 12 seconds left in the shot clock, shooting long threes when it's not necessary, when you have Nene open under the post or Gortat, whatever the case may be. And, just play defense, and, it's the playoffs. You got to come prepared each night.
Sean, who takes this?
Who takes this? Wow. I want to be a realist and say Washington will take this. We all, at the beginning expected, Indiana and Miami to just sweep everybody else and just meet each other in the Eastern Conference Finals. But, I mean, if you look, Washington will definitely take this. As long as they keep playing the way they're playing as opposed, yesterday down the stretch. But, Beal and Ariza, especially Trevor Ariza's been shooting the lights out. But I feel like John Wall has to shoot better. Like he was he was 4 for 14 yesterday.
He's the best player on the team too.
Exactly. And now he's 12 for 43 in his last trips to the Bankers Life Fieldhouse. 12 for 43. But he just needs to shoot better, and yeah, like that'll be it. That's what'll propel them to win this series, because Nene and Gortat will be fine.
Well, I am giving it to the Indiana Pacers. I think they are finally, maybe not the team that showed up for the first 5 months of the season, but I think that they are, have finally at least a little bit gotten it together. That Roy Hibbert in yesterday's game really showed that, hey, I'm not a complete dud this postseason, and the Pacers, I'd say, are finally realizing that, hey, we're now 3 wins away from getting back to the conference finals where we were last year. All we have to do is win 3 more games, and I think they're so motivated by that I think that'll power over them. And as you were saying earlier, Washington is an inexperienced team that they really surprised me with how easily they beat Chicago. And I just think that Indiana has with their battles with Miami the last 2 years, one, they want to see the Heat again, and 2, that has given them so much experience that that they'll just overpower Washington. And the experience factor and the knowing that the Heat are probably going to be waiting for them is going to push Indiana over the top and into the conference finals. So now, who are they going to see in the conference finals? That's the next question.
A big question.
Miami versus Brooklyn. Brooklyn swept the season series 4-0, and then
Miami swept Brooklyn 4-0 in the playoffs. Yeah, Miami is going to sweep them because this is Brooklyn's first year as a team together. So Miami knows how a team, when they come together the first year, will struggle. And Miami's been together for, 4 years now, this team? 3 years? 4 years, I was right, 4 years. And, Dwayne Wade looked good game one. It looks like his knees are back to form. And, Chris Bosh has been a productive asset to this team. His ability to space the floor has been killing Brooklyn. Well, killed them in game one. So, and honestly, I think the Nets' problem is they tend to settle from the outside too much. They don't work the ball around, and they have a hard time penetrating the paint and dishing out. The Nets don't really have anyone that can penetrate besides Darren Williams. Joe Johnson wants that ball in a post-up situation where he can back down, do a little hook to the left or fade away to the right. So, Paul Pierce he's old, he's slow. He's not able to put the ball down the floor and create his own shot like he used to be in Boston. So, Kevin Garnett has not been productive at all. There's no reason the Heat are gonna win this game in 4.
See, everyone can make a case all they want about the Nets beating the Heat 4 straight times in the regular season, but we all know that Miami's a team that's strictly about April, May, and June, and right now they're proving it. I mean, factors can come in saying, okay, the Nets just came off of a 7-game series and Miami came off of a sweep and they had all the time the rest in the world. But they knew who their opponent was, and boy, were they ready. They outscored the Nets in all 4 quarters. And not only that, but they shot 70% in the decisive quarter, which was the third, in which they won by 10 points. So, I mean, if you look at it, they had 5 players in double figures. And to me, although Joe Johnson and Darren Williams each had 17, I'm expecting more from them, especially Darren Williams. I haven't really seen Darren Williams step up and be that guy that I expected of him to be.
Also, when I watch the Heat, I feel like the Heat, every possession, they have a quality possession. Whether or not they miss the shot, it's a good shot. It's a shot that they know that they can make. With Brooklyn, on the other hand, it looks like they don't know who wants to shoot the ball. You know what I mean? It looks, all the players look indecisive. They don't know who, because it's a team that came together for 1 year. Although if Brook Lopez was playing, I think Brooklyn would have won the series because Brook Lopez would have been
no answer for him.
Yeah, there's no way that he would have been able to compensate for his size and his post ability.
Well, as I said, I think Indiana's going to get back to the conference finals, and they are going to get their rematch with the Heat. The Nets, had a great regular season run against Miami, winning all 4, but they're going to come back to reality against the Heat. Miami is just too good. They had a week off, which gave all of their players the time to rest,
especially Wade.
Especially Dwayne Wade, who is really going to be an X factor for the Heat this postseason. And as we saw in Game 1, the rest certainly helped Wade. And I think Miami is just too good. But this is not going to be a sweep, as Armand indicated.
I don't think it'll be a sweep neither.
I think that Brooklyn is really up for this series. Paul Pierce and LeBron James do not like each other, and whenever the two of them square off, it's always a battle. And for Pierce, that's what you like to see. When you're going up against the best in the world, you want to that just motivates you even more. So I think that this series is going to be a lot more competitive, but than a sweep and than Game 1 was. But it's just there's just too much for Miami, and they'll take this series and move one step closer to a third straight NBA title. But now jumping over to the Western Conference, which series are we starting off with? Are we starting off with Clippers Thunder or Spurs Portland?
Let's start off with the MVP, Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant and the Thunder bounced back and won Game 2. Now, this is honestly the best series in my mind. I think this series is going to go 7 games, without a doubt. You got playmakers on both sides of the court. You know, Chris Paul and Blake Griffin, 2 MVP candidates that would finish right behind Kevin Durant. You have Russell Westbrook, who's a superstar in his own fashion. Who had what did he have? He had a triple double. Was it 27, 16, and 10? Something like that.
31, 10, and 10 maybe. I'm pulling up the box score right now.
That was an unbelievable game what he had.
Westbrook's line read 31 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists.
Yeah, Russell Westbrook, he played absolutely amazing in that game. And honestly, when Russell Westbrook plays games like that, I feel like the Thunder could beat anyone. Because Russell Westbrook is that guy who could help Kevin Durant overcome any opponent they play. And with Russell Westbrook putting up numbers like that, they will be playing the Miami Heat in the NBA Finals. But I can't depend on Russell Westbrook each day and night to get 10 assists, because he has those games where he wants to shoot 9 for 27 and finish with 5 assists, and then the Thunder come out losing by 10. So I think this series is going to depend on if he's able to outdo Chris Paul every night and take Chris Paul out of the game, and then they should win. But I think the Thunder will find a way to beat the Clippers in 7.
This series right here is just exciting. It's just funny how the tables are gonna turn every time. I mean, the first game, Chris Paul shot 8 for 9 from 3, sensational game. Now you turn around and Russell Westbrook has a triple double. The one with the triple double, and KD almost had a triple double. You know, I think it was time for KD to really come into his own. I mean, you had the MVP acceptance, and they gave him the award at the beginning of before the game actually started. But I feel like that kind of propelled this performance and motivated the team.
That made him come out of that slump that he was in all postseason too, and he turned around with a MVP-like performance.
So Sean, who's taking this series for you?
For me, it's funny because yesterday I was thinking about this, and I said to myself, I was actually in the barber, and I was talking to my barber about this, and he said it was up in the air, and then I had to agree with him, and then for a moment I sided with the Clippers, but now I'm going to go and say the Thunder in 7 games. I'm going to say OKC in 7 games.
Wait, there was one thing I left out. Let's be real quick. I wanted to say that I think the Thunder are going to win because the Thunder have been in this position before, and the Clippers the last 2 years, they find ways to lose in the playoffs. They really do, and the Thunder find ways to win. And I think when it's all said and done, that's going to be a big reason why the Thunder are going to win, because the Clippers do not find ways to win series.
That is a very interesting point, and you're right. You know, the Thunder put together a great game last night. They were one Kevin Durant assist away from making history and being the first team ever to have 2 players record a triple-double in the same game. You know, when you got the 2 superstars there putting together MVP-like performances, you're going to be awfully tough to beat. But I am going to go with the Clippers and Doc Rivers. Rivers, he has that playoff experience from Boston, and he knows how to get his team to really gel together come the postseason. And, you know, as you guys mentioned, Russell Westbrook isn't always going to be putting up a triple double, and I think that even though Chris Paul didn't have a great game, he still had 17 points and 11 assists last night, and I think you got to go with Doc and the Clippers here. Do I see this series going 7?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. There is no way it's going less than 7. But now let's move on to the other series. We have the San Antonio Spurs, the 1 seed in the Western Conference,
Should be the Dallas Mavericks, but
against the Portland Trail Blazers, who were in both teams were in such exciting series in the first round. The Spurs took game 1 pretty handily at home. Is this a good barometer for the series?
yes, it is. I think, I'm totally changing my opinion here. I remember I was talking to Sean the other day. I said that Portland, I think, is going to win this series in 6, but San Antonio's more experienced. Popovic, this team is ready to go back to the championship and beat the Heat. And honestly, the Spurs are going to go right through this. Portland's inexperienced. Damian Lillard's his second year, great ball player, but he's not going to be able to outshine Tony Parker and the boys in San Antonio.
I wanted to go in my heart and say the Blazers because Lord knows I love these Blazers right now, but I'm going to go with San Antonio. To me, the first game didn't mean nothing because all game 1s are blowouts thus far in the second round. But to me, the ride's on how this game goes tonight. I feel like the Blazers aren't going to be fazed by this, and this is not going to be easy for San Antonio by any means. But, however, I do feel like San Antonio is going to barely survive this young team and move on, and they will ultimately fall to OKC. But, yeah.
There is no doubt in my mind who's going to win this series. The San Antonio Spurs, they've got the experience, and they've got the motivation from last year's NBA Finals. They will roll through this series and keep advancing and hopefully get back to the finals, and that would be absolutely great if they can win it. But we will see how the rest of the playoffs plays out over the next 4 or 5 weeks. It has been an absolute pleasure joining these fellas here for the last 15 weeks with this radio show, and we will be back in the fall after our summer hiatus. And as always, it's great to all of these listeners out there, and we hope you stay with us next semester when we continue with AM Sports with Sachs,
Madeo,
and Edwards.